What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian from House of Rasslin, and this is my review for the June 28th episode of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that you're notified when the House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. So, tonight's AEW Dynamite. Let me get my drink. Ah, boy. Boy, oh boy. I don't know where to start, and I know where I will finish. I'll just leave it at that. I'll start off with this. For me, this was a very underwhelming AEW Dynamite. There was a few things I liked, but for the most part, just the match placement on this show was really interesting and weird. I know I'm jumping the gun on my usual reviews, but yeah, tonight was really, really interesting. Let me look at my notes. So the first match, man, this how tonight's Dynamite has me somewhat flustered because you had a very good Collision, you had a very good Forbidden Door, and tonight, granted, you did not have the New Japan guys, all of them. You did have Tomohiro Ishii, but it just felt like coming out of that, like this episode was very flat. Um, Again, like I said, there was a few things that I liked and that were announced. I'm like, oh, cool, I like that. But for the most part, like this was somewhat of a missable episode of AEW Dynamite, to be honest. First match was Tomohiro Ishii versus Jon Moxley. The second match was Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, Angelo Parker versus Orange Cassidy, Keith Lee, and Vikingo. Pretty dope match. Then the third match was Hangman Page and the Young Bucks. They fought against Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and Evil Uno with -1. That was set up by backstage confrontation, if you want to call it, before this match. Then you had, let's see, the fourth match was Ruby Soho versus Alexa Nicole. Britt Baker was unable to participate because she was under the weather, so the match is postponed for next week. Then in the main event, you had Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara versus Sting and Darby Allin. This was the main event. The main event that should have happened was Hangman Page, the Young Bucks versus Alex Reynolds, John Silver, Evil Uno, and -1. That should have been the main event because what happened afterwards, the Blackpool Combat Club attacked the Elite. The Dark Order left. Eddie Kingston came out to make the save. They beat him down. Moxley grabs the mic and he's like, you know what? We've done everything. Now is the time to really sell this. And on, what was it? Let me see. July 19th in Boston, we're getting Blood and Guts on Dynamite. So that was cool. And the whole visual of all the Elite members and Eddie Kingston just being beaten up, Hangman Page is bloody, and Moxley declaring it, that should have ended the show. And instead, we got a very, just a very weird ending. Sting jumped off a ladder that was in the ring, right by the ropes, and he jumped off of it onto a table that was probably about 8 to 10 feet away. He hit his mouth. He said in the post match that he might need some stitches and he's got a loose tooth. And just very weird spot for Sting to do. And considering the tables were far off and, he brushed off Darby, and I don't know, just a really weird way to end Dynamite. This was a really, I don't know, just really weird Dynamite. Haven't had a Dynamite like this since, I want to say probably in the beginning of the year, where it was just like, there's stuff that I want to cheer for, there's stuff that I want to root for, but it's like, this ain't it. All right. Okay, this. All right. So yeah, this was a very underwhelming Dynamite for me, especially with everything that was happening the past couple weeks, excluding Forbidden Door. Just everything storyline wise that was happening. It's like, oh, okay, cool, and it just feels like. Um, Now, granted, I do want to clarify in this review that, um, granted, I do think this Dynamite was underwhelming. Yet at the same time, I do want to put in context. We don't know the situation as far as wrestlers not being able to travel or when they were used or what have you. Just a lot of things that go into producing a wrestling show, and I don't know. It's a common thing that's happening in pro wrestling, especially with WWE and AEW. It's unfortunate we get these shows that are somewhat underwhelming by both companies, but here we are. Um, so yeah, this was really interesting. Let me put my notes. Let me bring up my topics. All right, there we go. Yeah, so yeah, this was a very interesting way to have Dynamite. There have been um, Monday Night Raws that I've watched where it was similar like this, where it was just like, okay, this is cool, but it's just like, that's it? Like, oh man. So it goes for both companies. It isn't a AEW thing. It isn't a WWE thing. This goes for both companies. I've seen, like I said, I've seen Monday Night Raws and I've seen Dynamites have literally the same type of reaction and just type of presentation that they present where it's just very like bland and underwhelming to some extent. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I am excited for Blood and Guts, the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club in Boston. That should be interesting. That should be good. Hopefully, the build to that is generate some excitement and everything leading into it. I mean, let's see, the first Blood and Guts. Man, you know what? Maybe it's me, but it just seems like whenever they have blood and guts, something wonky always happens. The first Blood and Guts, you had the Jericho falling off, and you could see like the plywood and stuff. The second Blood and Guts, I believe, was when Santana got injured. I believe that was the second Blood and Guts match that they did. Um, and now this one, so hopefully no one gets injured or something wonky happens. Is just really, um, really weird and interesting. But I'm looking forward to it, see how it goes. The other thing that stood out to me for this episode of Dynamite was Swerve and Keith Lee are a tag team in the Blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament. And it's the never ending story that we will probably never have a resolution to. They've had a feud, then it cooled off, then it would come back. So I hope this is this. I don't even want to say the start. Hopefully, this is the beginning of the end of this feud. And by that, I mean the beginning is closer to the end than the beginning, and the end is all the way over here. Love both guys, love their work and everything, but I do feel like that feud needs to end. Swerve needs to get some gold. Keith Lee needs something to sink his teeth into. Maybe go on Collision or something. I don't know, but like they need something fresh and something to end and just go on. I don't know what AEW's fascination is with some of these storylines just never ending. You had was it the Pinnacle and um, the Inner Circle that felt like forever. Um, what was another storyline that just felt like forever? Actually, the was it Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks? They had matches that felt like forever. It's just little things like I don't know what's AW's fascination with um, long stories just going on and on and on. Like it just sometimes you just go, leave, let it go. Um, I did like I did like Jack Perry's uh, coming out. I don't know what Jack Perry's thing is. Like I love him as a wrestler, but like his promos, like he's always using language that you normally aren't supposed to use on television. I don't know what's his, the process going into that. Um, he mentioned in his promo, let me pull it up right now. He mentioned, let me see. I know I got it here somewhere. But yeah, he's always um just saying stuff that's just like, man, okay. He comes out, turn that garbage off. I like that, so it's like it's a sign that like, okay, he's going to get some new music. Hopefully that's cool. Shout out to Rich from Madman Podcast. He tweeted something that was very cool. He's like, what if um we go him saying turn it off leads into Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses. That would be interesting if Tony Khan did purchase that for Jungle Boy. That would be pretty cool. I thought that tweet was really cool. Shout out to Rich from Matman Podcast. That was pretty cool. I'm like, that's interesting. So it is. We are gonna get some new music from Jack Perry. Um, he goes to the crowd. You ruined it to the point that you never want to hear this again. Um, I can get on a plane and leave, and you're stuck here with the wildfires. There's a bunch of booze. And then he mentions, I'm still banging the hottest woman in this place. He did not use the term woman. He used the term describing a female dog, which I was like, you really didn't have to do, like, you really didn't have to say it that way. I get the idea of being aggressive in your heel, so I don't know. It was, for me, it was just unnecessary. Like, he already said some things that were just already heelish, where it's just like, oh, okay, this is really cool. That was just kind of like overkill. It was unnecessary. I like the part that he said, did I turn on Hook or did everybody else turn on me? That's cool. It makes a lot of sense because if you look at his history up until the point that he turned on Hook, everyone pretty much turned on Jungle Boy. Christian turned on him. Luchasaurus turned on him. Trying to think of who else. A few other people I can think of that turned on him and everything. So this heel turn was long overdue. So I'm really interested to see where this goes with him. I really did like that line. The crowd was chanting "You effed up." He goes into Hook talking about how his belt isn't recognized by this company. You were lucky to stand in the ring with me. Before you, I was holding gold, and with you, I wasn't holding nothing. Then there's a-hole chants being chanted. And then he looks at Taz all the way in the commentator's booth. He's like, you hear that, Taz? They're talking about you. And then he says, when I get my hands on you, music hits, Hook comes out, and he chases him through the ring, through the barricade, all the way to the back. And those young guys are very quick. That was the quickest chase that I've seen in wrestling in quite some time. So we have a program, Jack Perry Hook. I like this. This, out of everything on the show, not everything. I did like the Ruby Soho promo. I did like the MJF Adam Cole promo. It was this, like this stuff right here. Granted, it didn't have the intensity, the grit, the aggressiveness that we normally see on AEW. But what I did like about this was that it built something. It's like, okay, Hook got clothesline on Sunday. Now it's a follow up. It's like, okay, boom, okay, boom. And this was cool. I'm interested to see where this goes. By him mentioning your title isn't recognized in AEW makes me think, are they eventually going to recognize the title and what, the FTW title is going to be? Is it going to be the title where you can just call any match stipulation you want or what have you? I don't know. It does feel like AEW does need that one title that's just so damn out there that it's just wild and bizarre. I think that's something they could do. But I don't know. We'll see. But I like this. It's fresh for Jack Perry. And that's the other thing I like about this angle. It's Jack Perry. He just turned heel. So now this is building something for something fresh that just happened on your program. You know, everything else uh, tonight, like, it wasn't fresh. And I think that's one issue that AEW has is that certain moments they stick to certain things too long, and it's like, okay, now it's time to move on, and they still go, and it's just like, and then it's like, oh, thank God it's over, and then, um, the crowd and the fans get back into it. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with this Jack Perry Hook feud. Now, finally, Hook has a feud that he can build upon because basically for this whole time that Hook's been in AEW, he's kind of just been getting wins here and there and six-man tags and everything. But now this is a legitimate feud for Hook. That's like, okay, this is going to be really cool. The other thing I liked about this show and what stood out to me was the Ruby Soho promo. Now, granted, I know some people, oh, is this or that? But no, that promo, from what I saw online while watching AEW Dynamite, a lot of people liked that and are like, man, she gave a great promo into the camera, very punctual and direct, sense of urgency. And for those of you who watch my reviews, I always mention that term, sense of urgency, because let's face it, granted, we know this is predetermined and everything, but at the same time, there has to be a sense of projecting, a sense of urgency that, hey, I want to win gold because if when I win gold, I make more money, I get more TV time, and people see me, I sell more merchandise. So it's just a simple philosophical element that just makes everything else bigger than what it is in a good way, in a positive way. But man, this after this match, mind you, this match she actually mocked Britt Baker and she put like the doctor's glove on and did the lockjaw and everything. She mentions Britt Baker. You said you didn't know who I was. I love who I am now. She mentions that Britt Baker is a shell of herself. Last year, you barely beat me. And she tells her next week, I'm taking the opportunity of you being a two-time Owen Hart winner. She got real to the point, and I liked it. I loved her inflection, her delivery, her cadence. Very good. It's like, okay. I think this normally with the Outcast, they're very sneaky and they're always, um, how do I put it? Almost like very with these cheating tactics and stuff like that. But this promo just felt like, man, Ruby Soho might actually win aggressively, yet might do something underhandedly where it will be a good match, and then that underhanded thing is like, damn, okay. So I mean, that's something to look into. Maybe Ruby Soho does upset Britt Baker, where she doesn't win the uh, Owen Hart tournament again. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. Then the next thing that I liked about the show that stood out to me was the MJF being buddy buddy with Adam Cole. I liked it for the fact that it was a continuation of last week. I do think they shot two segments. So it was one, you could say it was like Adam Cole coming in saying hi to people, and then MJF came in. He's like, "Oh, let's hang out." Blah blah blah. He's like, "You want to hang out with me? What? All right." I do think with the segments that they did with that one, and then the latter one with Roderick Strong, I do think they could have done those two segments in one segment, where you didn't need to. You could have had Adam Cole come in, Roderick Strong, uh, talking to him, "Hey, what's up?" And MJF, "Oh, let's hang buddy," and Roger Strong's like, "Dude, be careful," and just go there and like they could have put that together instead of putting it out and everything. Um, it does feel like AEW is going into this. Can they coexist? But I think it's not necessarily can they coexist, will they coexist? I think that's the difference. WB has can they coexist, with AEW will they coexist, which granted does mean the same thing, but it has when you really think about it, it's like, man, can they coexist or will they coexist? Like it's really a play on words. So it was okay for me, but one other thing that stuck out to me was going back to the Blood and Guts, the Elite and Blackpool Combat Club, was the backstage segment with. I gotta go to my notes right now. Let me know what you guys thought of this week's AEW Dynamite. Again, I felt that it was somewhat underwhelming and just lacked the aggressiveness, the intensity, the tenacity, the feistiness, the sense of urgency that they've had on Dynamite the past several weeks. Like it just left a lot. And this crowd was pretty decent. It wasn't something like, oh, they were sitting there like they wanted to get into something, but it was just like there wasn't enough of the emotional elements that I described for them to get into it, if that makes any sense. Let me see where I could pull this up. Where is it at? Man, where is it at? There we go. Nope. There we go. I found it. So it was after Renee talked to Adam Cole the first time and everything. So we go to commercial, come back, and Renee's with Moxley. Mind you, when Moxley fought Ishii, like he was just bleeding and everything. She's like, "What's going on?" Like, I don't even remember seeing Renee Paquette like this in WWE. Like, just confronting people, like her tone, her demeanor, like everything just changed. And then Kingston comes in, and she's like, "Guys, stop! Guys, stop!" And Kingston and Moxley, they're arguing, and then she looks at Eddie Kingston, and she's like, "You better fix this. I'm done." And it's like, So that little like cliffhanger, like everything about the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite has been good for the past several weeks, and I don't understand why AEW did not end that feud on Dynamite. Granted, I can get somewhat of the logic that you want Sting to have the main event. It's Canada, blah, blah. It's like, I get that, but your bread and butter is the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite. And that segment with Renee Paquette, and, this was the first time where she kind of, as a character, leaned into, the real life. Hey, this is my husband. Like, I'm tired of this. You always busting up. Like, what are you doing? Like, you need to get a. Like, I loved that whole aspect, and it was so good because it was realistic aspects that made sense. And man, I'm really interested to see how this Blood and Guts is going to play out. The Dark Order being involved made sense because it ties into Hangman Page and him, just leaving them and going with the Elite, and they brought that up. So it was like a lot of good things that were here that I think it just needed to have more aggressiveness, sense of urgency, and just that feistiness that was missing. And I like that part when Renee just tried to break it up. Like that was, for me, that was my favorite part of tonight's Dynamite. That right there. But yeah, overall, this episode, I mean, they gave a few recaps of Forbidden Door, Bryan Danielson, Okada, Will Ospreay, and Kenny Omega. I don't know. It was just, like I said, it was just, for me, it was a very underwhelming episode of Dynamite that you wanted to get into, or if you're an AEW fan, man, I'm going to get into all this, man, I'm anticipating, what they're going to do. And it was just like, the spot with Sting, like, that was unnecessary. If he was going to do that, the table should have been a lot closer than what it was. That was the other thing, like the way they had the uh, barricade set up. They had the ring announcers um, on the instead of the hard cam, and it's right to the left. It was where the hard cam is at. It was to the right, and they had a little indentation, like if the announce tables are going to be there or something like that. It was just really interesting how they um, did that and everything. Just really, really interesting. I don't. That was the first time I've seen them do that. I don't know if they had the. Uh, well, they don't shoot Ring of Honor afterwards on Dynamite. They do it on Collision, but I don't know. It was just really interesting and weird that they would do that. So, um, I mean, Rampage looks okay. I mean, you're getting main event's going to be Claudio versus Commander, which that should be a freaking dope match. That should be fun. But yeah, the rest of the card is, just some chill, relax, and everything. On Collision, you're getting Chris Statlander versus Lady Frost. That should be really good. And then, of course, you're getting the three men's on Heart matches: Dustin versus Powerhouse Hobbs, Roderick Strong, Samoa Joe, and Ricky Starks and Juice Robinson. Those should be great matches. Um, so yeah, if I were to give this a letter grade, I would give it. Man, I gotta give it a D plus. Yeah, this was a very underwhelming episode of Dynamite. Hopefully next week it picks up. I know for the next few weeks they're going to be in Canada. I don't know if that plays a factor in it. I know in WB when they've done tours, whether it was in Canada or Europe, like some of the Raws and SmackDowns were just like, I get why it's booked like this. So I don't know. It's just a really um, a complete contrast to what we experienced on Sunday, Saturday, Friday, and last Wednesday. Just a complete contrast. So I don't know what to tell you, but I'll see what happens this Friday and next week in Collision and all that stuff. Still love these guys that perform and everything. I enjoy all these guys' work. It's just the way it was presented and the matches in order. It was just, I don't know. I just couldn't, it just didn't click with me this week. But that is my review for the June 28th episode of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you're notified when House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Folks, let's have some fun. We got a big pay-per-view this Saturday, Money in the Bank. That should be good. So with that,